Alright guys, welcome back. Today's video is going to be a viewer requested video. I had a request to do a video, kind of a summary of the hay season for 2018. First cutting. I probably won't do a summary video on second cutting just because second cutting is, I want to do some interesting things with second cut just because I have more time. I enjoy making second cutting a lot more than first cutting just because I have more time. Usually first cutting is around the time when I'm trying to get all the crops sprayed and get all the fertilizer on, and there's a big push to get everything done there. So second cutting, it's really enjoyable. So I want to do some more things with camera angles, maybe set up the tripod, get some more footage of different I want to have a little fun with second cut this year, just because I have more time. So I did have somebody ask for a summary as far as how everything went. Of course, I have all the past videos. You're going to be watching footage from some of the highlights of the 2018 hay season for first crop hay. So I figured I would do that. It's a good idea for a video. Today's Sunday, so there's not a whole lot going on, and it was about 100 degrees outside, so not much going on inside day today. So anyway, the hay season started out with real nice hay. I have Timothy and orchard grass and a little bit of that bluegrass mixed in, but the majority of it is Timothy and orchard grass. Some fields have more Timothy in than others, but it's going to be a mix. No matter what field I go to, it's a mixture. So I started the year, we got plenty of rain. It was an excellent crop. It was thick. I started mowing. You guys saw that video. It did very well on YouTube, the first cutting with the 986. I decided to take the 986 and the Habien out for first cutting hay, just because it was so thick. I wanted to be high up in the tractor, and the Habien did pretty well for first cutting, but it is a Habien. You're going to be very limited. Not to say that it's if I'm using a Habien, a lot of guys are using a Habien. There's nothing wrong with a Habien. They've been used for many years. The thing that ruined Habiens was the disc bind, and I fully understand. I've run disc binds already. I know the difference. And the hay was so thick for the Habien. It just it would cut it. I didn't have a problem with the sickle bar cutting, but it would bunch up and it would lay on the table and not go into the rollers, and then not being able to see that it was doing that, I was dragging the Habien over the top of some of the hay, and it wasn't going through the machine, and I was just running down hay. And of course, you're, I don't know, 15-20 yards ahead of it till you see what's going on. So a couple things I did to fix that right off the bat in this year. I set the Habien to windrow closer. I had it set that it would lay it out as flat as possible to start the year, and that was no good because I couldn't see, once the hay was cut and laying down, I couldn't see if it was cutting or just pulling it over the top. So I windrowed it. That decision I made because I found out how well that tedder worked and how good the hay was able to dry, so I didn't have any problems with windrowing it. I'll get into the tedder in a little bit here. The other thing I did, I moved the reel a little bit closer to the sickle bar and sped it up. So that took care of all the problems. I still couldn't go very fast. You cannot mow fast with a Habien. You're limited there, not like a disc bind. A disc bind is like a lawnmower. You can run over hay twice, and I know the differences, but we're, like I said, we're a small farm. And I'm trying to get less hay acres. I know I'm saying that all the time. All right, so that was the Habien did well. As far as for second cutting, really the only thing I want to do is go over the knives and check out the guard, see if there's anything. Currently, it's blown off really well and greased and ready to go again. Just want to go over the knives. So the Habien is put away, and that's good to go. So no complaints there. Those simple adjustments fix the problems. Moving on to the tedder and the 395. You guys will know when I bought the 395, I said I was looking for a tractor to rake and ted hay with. And I did use that for the first field that I started with. I did ted with it. It did great. That little tractor turns really sharp. It doesn't use much fuel. It has enough power to do what I want it to do. So I'm happy with the 395. Now I got away from using it because it got hot. We went through that 105-degree heat wave that lasted 4 or 5 days. I wasn't going to complain about the heat wave. We were behind on heat units. We had a very cool spring. So anyway, I wasn't using it as much because I wanted the tractor with the canopy and the roll bar roof just to be in the shade. A lot of guys ask why I'm not using open station tractors. I had explained it in a couple videos past that skin cancer runs in my family. My grandfather died at age 38 and my dad has had skin cancer removed already too. So I want to be in the shade. I don't want to be out in the sun baking or burning to a crisp. So I do have a canopy for the 395 and I'm hoping to get that on for second cutting. So the tedder, you guys have seen my videos on the tedder, the H&S 2-star. I did a whole video series on it. I bought it unassembled. I put it together here at the farm and saved about $300-400 doing it that way. For the total cost, it was the first brand new piece of equipment that I've ever bought in my life, my tedder, and I was amazed. I've said it over and over again. Some guys are probably getting tired of hearing me talk about it, but the tedder that I used last year, I do have videos on here from last year's tedder. I just couldn't get it to dry fast enough. With this 2-star, if I had any type of lumps or any problems, I could blow it apart with that tedder. So far I haven't had any issues. I did a video on some of the things that I saw that I didn't like about it, and of course they were issues, like the hitch pin hole was rattling like crazy and just little annoying things, but worked great. So the tedder's fine. The hay rake, I just bought that hay rake this year. Last year, you guys will know I had that John Deere 3-point hitch hay rake. I'm not trashing John Deere here, but that hay rake that I had on the 3-point was a piece of trash. It was, I knew it was junk when I bought it. It was wore pretty hard, that it was just rattling and banging, and I did not like it on the 3-point, being on the hills. It just wasn't I like towing the hay rake, so we did get that International 35 hay rake, and I really haven't had any problems with it. It's working great. I'm happy with how it worked. The only thing is, being that I can't lift it up, that is one advantage with the 3-point. There you can see the tedder blowing the hay apart. One of the advantages with the 3-point is when you come to the end and you can lift it up, and you don't have to quite turn yourself around so hard, or I'll put it this way. With the 3-point rake, I was able to make it look a lot nicer than the tow behind rake, but it worked. No complaints there. It's greased, just needs a paint job, and I think we're going to have a pretty good hay rake here for the future. I don't really need anything bigger or better because, like I say, I'm trying to get less hay acres here. We'll move on to the baler. I'm trying to go as fast as I can here and make it interesting. The baler, I didn't have any problems with the baler. I had problems with the twine. You guys know that sisal twine. It wasn't thin that it was giving me problems. It was thick. That's where the problems were. That twine got so thick that the knotter just didn't know what to do with it. I had knots tied on top of knots, and I finally got to a better spot in the ball of twine, and it started working a lot better. So I did miss some bales. I did a video on rebaling some of that hay last year and this year that I just fork it in off the wagon. I made 10 more bales from all the loose stuff, all the missed bales. I have a little bit more to go yet. So this winter, I know I said I was going to do it last year for the guys that have been following real close. I was going to put new plunger knives in. The ones that I have look like they have been sharpened quite a few times, and I decided on just getting a brand new set instead of trying to resharpen these again. Some people have commented that my baler makes a lot more noise. The first thing to note is it's not a 575. They're a much smoother. It has that rotary feed. It's a much smoother running baler. My sweep is what's making that noise. There's rollers there in that hay sweep that brings it into the plunger, and it runs in a track. The rollers are okay. They're just getting wore. They spin fine. They're not falling apart or anything. They're just getting to the age where they just make a lot of noise. I did look into it. I'm not really worried about it. I do spray some lubricant in there every once in a while. It quiets it down, and then about 100 bales later it's back to just clanking away. So it should get replaced. We might do that this winter. So the baler, like I say, worked pretty good. This year I did make heavier bales, a little bit longer bales than I did last year. My dad helps me unload hay sometimes. He did say that the bales were a lot heavier and more dense than they were last year, so I'm glad that was remedied from last year. What else did I change? I had a few banana bales. I had to adjust the tension a little bit there. You just go from one side to the other. So I got all the adjustments, but the baler worked wonderful. I did an overview on that baler. I knew it didn't have many bales through it, and that's why I bought it. So I was happy with the baler. The 986 did great. Basically, my only complaint with the 986 right now is the brakes are a little sluggish. I was talking to another guy here on YouTube. The 86 series does have brakes that are a little sluggish compared to the 66 series, because the 66 series used the dry brakes, whereas the 86 series was kind of the start of the wet hydraulic brakes, and they take a little bit of time. You have to push them. You push the pedal, and you feel the hydraulic pushing your feet back like 5 seconds later. Basically, if you want to stop, you have to push the brakes ahead of time. So there are some things to check, some things to look at, so I want to get into that maybe this winter, maybe earlier, we'll have to see. So a final summary on the hay. I was very happy this year. I made some good hay this year compared to last year. Last year, it just rained and rained. Every single time I mowed hay last year, it got rained on. Every time. It's just the way the summer was. This year, we got all our rain in the spring, it seemed. It just rained from, I don't know, March till May. But we had a dry spell here, and I could get at it. I have 6 different hay fields, and I've told you guys before, I can't just go and mow all 6 hay fields. I don't have enough wagons. I don't have enough help. I can't just go out and knock everything down in a matter of 2 days and bale it all. I have to go field by field. I only have the 4 wagons, so I only mow enough that'll fit on the wagons. And this field I'm mowing right now that you're looking at, I didn't have enough wagons, and you guys saw how inefficient that was getting hay out of the field with the loader. I figured it wasn't going to be much. I had to bale it in the field, and here it ended up being 150 bales that I had to bring down to the barn with the loader, about 7 bales at a time in the bucket. So that was a very inefficient day. I know it was. It was 105 degrees. It's just a miserable day, but we got it in. So the hay was pretty good this year. We didn't have anything get rained on. I didn't have, other than that first field when I just cut it and it rained on it, which was fine, didn't hurt it. I didn't have any hay get rained on this year, which was great so far for first cut. Second might be a little bit different, but not a drop of rain on any of the hay. I did have some days when I mowed it and was able to bale the next day, and then I had some days where I couldn't do that. It was just too humid. It was hot, but it was just too humid. And then I had one field that I had to let dry for 4 days, just because the sun wasn't out the whole one day and there was no wind blowing. So luckily in 4 days it didn't rain on it. So we got a barn with hay. Yeah, here's, you can see me hauling these bales down. Oh, I don't want to go back to that day. If I ever run into that again, I need to get like a little flatbed trailer or something. It just, I don't know. It was the only thing I could come up with because it was supposed to rain the next day. All my wagons were full. It was 105 degrees, and I did not feel like unloading any hay, so I just had to do it that way. So all in all, the first cutting should do pretty well. I haven't. Oh, that was the other thing. Selling it out of the field. I've told you guys in past videos, I managed to coordinate with my customers that I was able to sell almost 300 bales right out of the field. That I didn't have to unload, stack, put in the barn, handle 6-7 times like I usually have to do with the hay. That was great. I was so glad that the customers wanted fresh stuff. I had some real nice Timothy. They called and asked when I was going to be baling. They wanted to know the day I would be baling, and they would be out. So I got 300 bales moved before I I basically just stacked them in the field and they picked them up and helped themselves or took them off the full wagon. So that really was a big help this year that I did not have last year. Last year I didn't have any customers. I made all that hay last year and didn't have any customers. I didn't advertise till the winter time, and it was the end of winter till I finally got some sales, and it was just this year that I got like 7 hay customers now. So I know one guy said he needs like 800 bales a year, so that's a pretty good amount to sell to one person. So all right, like I say, we're at the end of the video here. This was me on that steepest hill. I didn't get much footage because I didn't want to be filming on the hills, but like I say, a viewer requested video. Thank you guys for watching. I'm glad the hay is done, and stay tuned for more. There's plenty more to come.